everybody, it's Mrs. Black, and I wanted to talk to you about something very, very important called the FAFSA. I'm not very good at saying that word, so please forgive me. I will say that word a gazillion times during this presentation, but putting those letters together make it very difficult. But basically, the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And why I want to talk to you about that today is because it is so important that all students apply for this on October 1st or shortly after. And I'll give you more details with that. With that being said, I like to look at the 5 W's, the who's, what's, when's, where's, and why's you should do this application. So let's start with who should apply. First and foremost, all seniors beginning their senior year should apply for the FAFSA. The reason for that being is that this, even though it's a financially need-based program, this application can qualify you for different types of federal aid. Remember, federal aid is government money. It is different than the Florida financial aid application, which is in my previous video. So I want to talk specifically about the money that you could be earning through this specific application. Also, parents will need to complete this for their child. So actually, the two of you will be completing this application independently of one another, although I recommend that you're sitting next to each other while you're doing it to get the information that you need from one another. And I'll talk a little bit about the information that you're going to need before you start the application. Also, once you graduate high school and you're continuing your education, again, you want to complete this application every year while you are continuing your education. The funds could always be there. What will you need to complete this application? You will need your social security number. Make sure that that is correct. You will need some tax information, your tax returns, your W-2s, any bank statements, bank information that you have, and any records of non-taxable income. You want to make sure to do that. Also, when you complete this application, it's going to give you something called the FSA ID, which stands for Federal Student Aid ID. Both parents and students will receive an ID when completing this application, and you will need this in order to sign the electronic form of the FAFSA application. All right. I skipped one, sorry. When do you apply? Again, I mentioned this already. October 1st is the hot ticket date. October 1st or shortly after. It is so important for students and families to complete this application on or as close to October 1st as possible. Why, you might ask? Well, the reason is this. It is federal money, which means they award the money on a first come, first served basis. So if your parents have a specific tax or income and you fill that application out October 3rd, you could be eligible for free money up to $5,700. But that same family could have waited until January or early February to complete this application, and you might only be eligible for $1,200. So there's a significant difference between applying or filing early versus applying later. I would highly recommend all families apply early. Where do you apply? Well, there are 2 ways that you can apply now. One, you can go directly using a computer and going to the student aid website. I'm going to give you that link in just a moment. Or you can download the new mobile app. I believe it started last year and they've had great success with it. It's My Student Aid, and you can download that on iTunes or Google Play. You can do it right there on your phone on your own personal device. If you choose to go through the computer, like us old schools, I would recommend you can either Google FAFSA.gov. Make sure it ends in the GOV suffix. You want to make sure that you're not being scammed because they are out there. Or you can just go to studentaid.ed.gov and it will bring you right to the website. I've included 2 photographs on my PowerPoint, just visuals, so that you can see the difference between the 2 websites. And the one website that is computer-based, it is important that it looks like this. Again, I don't want families to get scammed. If you find that you're starting this application and you think you're completing it, but it's asking you for credit card information, stop what you're doing, log out, go to your school officials, ask what you should be doing, where you're going wrong, because there's tons of information out there and they're always looking for somebody that they can take advantage of. So we don't want that to be you. Why do you need to do the FAFSA? Well, the reason you need to do it is because, again, we all love free money. Who doesn't need help paying for college? So, but believe it or not, this application can qualify you for different types of funding. I have many students who come to me and will say to me, my parents say we won't qualify. Again, I recommend every family apply. If you don't feel like you would qualify, keep this in mind. There are four-year universities out there wanting to offer financial aid packages based on the student's merit, meaning their schoolwork that they have shown what type of student they are when they've applied, whether it's ACT or SAT requirements or GPA requirements. They will not offer financial aid packages until they see this application on file. So you don't want to prevent your child from possibly earning free scholarship money from the colleges because you thought you wouldn't qualify for this state or federal aid. Okay, so that's a big light bulb. You need to apply. The best part about this is you apply the first time, it might take a little longer, but next year when you go to do it again, it won't take any time at all, and it just rolls in from last year's application. So you might need to update a couple things, but it doesn't take nearly as long. Also, one of the programs that I really have students look for is what we call the Pell Grant. That's the P-E-L-L grant. Grants and scholarships are free money. You don't have to pay those back. So why wouldn't you want to look for Pell Grant money? If you're eligible for free or reduced lunch, or you receive free or reduced lunch services at your school, you most likely are going to qualify for Pell Grant. Again, if you apply early, that award could be up to $5,700 or even a little bit more depending on the funds that are available through the government. Work study, that is going to be a checkbox on that application. Work study just means you're saying, yeah, sure, you don't mind being offered a job while you're taking classes at the school that you're attending, to where maybe that money that you're earning, you're going to use to pay back to the school to help reduce the burden of your tuition or your educational costs. So if you're interested in work study, I recommend everybody check that box. Also, the other thing that they will offer you are federal loans. This is a family decision whether or not to take out student loans. I recommend students to look for funding elsewhere or maybe make some alternative educational decisions. You certainly don't want to be 22 graduating high school with a debt of $60,000. That is rather excessive and it will take you forever to pay off. So if you can avoid loans at all, I highly recommend it. If you have to take out federal student loans, they do offer them at lower interest rates, and there are some benefits if you are using a loan to use the federal loan. So we've talked about the 5 W's. Now let's talk about the H. How? How do you apply? Again, I showed you the 2 links that you can use, but I want to show you a few more resources out there that I like. If you notice, all the prefixes of these links start with the studentaid.ed.gov. That's because if you were to Google help filling this form out, tons and tons of information is out there. I like to use the source that's that main source of what you are using. So keep it specific to the federal government telling you what you can. There's tons of help through their websites. I promise you could be on there for hours. I am. So the first one, I'm just going to show you the home page. I don't know why it keeps defaulting. It defaults to this. So let me click on this box and see if it brings me, nope, that's the main page. So if you scroll down a little bit, I'm going to show you, these are the 4 programs that we talked about earlier. These are the things that this application can qualify you for as far as programs: grants, work study, loans, and scholarships. When you're ready to start your application, you can just type in FAFSA.gov and it will take you to the application webpage. You have two buttons to choose from, either start here or log in. Before you do this application, I would recommend that you read through the quick little bullet points. On this specific application, the more reading you do, the better off you are, because they really are very good about answering any questions you may have. So everybody's going to start here, and if you click that start here button, you're either going to answer the next question that yes, you are a student, or you are a parent. So each one of you will pick. Going back to my PowerPoint, I want to show you filling out the FAFSA. And this is just a quick little Q&A, how to fill it out, what information you need to gather. It's just helping you gather your documentation before you sit down. But speaking about gathering documentation, I want to show you this PDF website, or this PDF form. I absolutely love it, and I recommend every family check this out. If you click on this link, which is a worksheet, it brings a paper copy of what the online application is going to ask you. So you can gather all of your documentation, put it on one resource. So when you sit down to do this application, everything is there for you. The one thing I would caution you is to make sure that when you're transcribing the information from the paper to the computer, you're not transposing numbers. You want everything to match. All right, but it's a great resource, and again, you can download this. I recommend it. Going back to the PowerPoint, a question I get a lot is, Miss Black, I live at home, but my parents say they're never going to pay for anything. Or, Miss Black, when I graduate, my parents say I have to move out and they're not going to help me with anything. To decide whether or not you are a dependent of your parents or independent, I would check out this link. There are only a few reasons why students are considered independents. For the government purposes, all students are considered, or all children are considered dependents until they hit their 24th birthday. That is very important to know. On the application, it's going to ask some dependency questions. There's a whole section on it, and it will ask, were you a ward of the state? Were you in foster care? Are you part of the armed services? Do you yourself have any dependents? So as a student, do you have any children? So those would be questions that they are going to ask you, and depending on how you answer some of those questions will determine whether or not the government views you as independent. Everybody else falls into the dependency program. You are dependent on your parents. So hopefully that clarified that question. The other link is just a quick, again, Q&A, most frequently asked questions link. If you have questions, how to get your FSA ID, how to complete the form. What if you have questions? If you have questions and something is not right, feel free to give them a call. They will help you, but just don't do it at the end of the day on Friday. Most likely they're not going to be very helpful. So I would recommend that you read through some of these question answers, and there are always help buttons on the right side of the page if you have questions or need clarification, or there's a circle with a question mark inside of that, so you want to check that out. The other question I get a lot is, Miss Black, my parents are divorced. Which parent am I supposed to use in order to fill out this form? I am including a lovely little flowchart to let you know who would be responsible for filling out the FAFSA parent section. The quick answer is this. Whoever has 51% custody needs to complete that form. It's whoever you live with the most according to court documents. That is who will complete the FAFSA as a parent to include that. So this information is on there, and I will include the link below with all the other links on this PowerPoint below in the description of this video so that you can go back and reference it. Before the next two slides, I want to talk to you about what you should follow up. After you've completed your application, wait about 2 weeks, log back into your application, but check your emails frequently. You need to make sure and check your emails. You want to look for what we call the SAR, which stands for Student Aid Report. Your Student Aid Report is a summary of your application, the answers that you put on the application, and in the top paragraph, read it very carefully. It'll give you 2 things that you're looking for. One, it will give you your EFC. EFC stands for Estimated Family Contribution, and that is what the government is determining that the family can provide financially for you to go to school. Sometimes this number is laughable. Just to be on the lookout. It usually starts with many leading zeros and then maybe 36775, which is telling you that's how much money you can pay towards your child's college tuition or educational future. The other number you're going to be looking for is the Pell Grant number. Again, that's the free money number. That's what you're really looking for. If your EFC is as close to 0 as possible, it has bunches of zeros and maybe has a 37, they're saying your family would only be able to contribute $37 towards your education, which means your Pell Grant money should be about, again, that magic number's 57, maybe even a little higher. I think last year it was just over 6,000, which can go a long, long way if you're smart about your education. So you want to make sure to check that SAR, which stands for Student Aid Report. There are tons of other resources, helpful websites you can go to. I highly recommend that you go and use the Student Aid website. Let me go ahead and go there. For some reason, it doesn't like to click there on my PowerPoint. So let me just go back there again, FAFSA.gov, which will bring you to the home page. You can use any of those other links that I provided as well. But if you scroll to the very, 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 very bottom, which we rarely ever do, there are several sections down here that can give tons and tons of information. Loan calculators, types of aid, a description of the aid, understanding how to budget, tons of information, and parents, students, check that out. Other than that, that is your FAFSA at a glance. Take your time, gather your documentation, work on this as a team. It'll take you about an hour, so be prepared. That's why I didn't go over every single slide with you. That would be forever long. If you have any questions, you're a Sun Lake student, swing by my office or please email me at rlblack@pasco.k12.fl.us. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you learned something today. You guys have a great day.